Yeah, the camera's on.
Okay,
Camera's on.
all right, welcome to Civil Service Commission. It's really great to. Can you hear me?
There's a bit of an echo.
Bit of an echo.
Want to mute your laptop?
It's not using my laptop's computer. It's using this one.
What about now? 1, 2, 3.
That sounds better.
Okay, great. Anyway, welcome. It's really great to be out in the community. We're here, what's that? Center for African American Health, right?
Yep.
Center for African American Health. Deidre Johnson is the CEO here. I don't think she's here today, but she's a friend and it's really great to be here. So we're gonna call the roll. I gotta do that? Commissioner Foster. Here. Commissioner Stout. Here. Commissioner Everett. Here. Commissioner Taylor.
Here.
Okay, so we have all our commissioners here, which is excellent. And we have guests here in person. Just like you very briefly say who you are, where you're from.
Brian Vasalco, PPA. Josh Vasconcelos, PPA.
Eddie Mejia, also with the PPA.
Frank Kerber with the PPA as well.
Sean Lane, counsel for the PPA.
All right, welcome. Look forward to hearing from you later today. And those who are joining us virtually, can you please identify yourselves? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ron Thomas, Denver Police Chief.
Hello, Chief.
Good afternoon, Commander Michelle Fulmer, Denver Police.
I'm
Thank you.
Allie Kehoe with the Civil Service Commission.
Thank you.
Rick
afternoon.
Heidel, Denver Police.
Afternoon, Daniel Van Scooten, Denver Citizen Oversight Board.
Great.
Brian Martin, City Attorney.
Okay,
And Dave Hageman, Division Chief, Denver Fire.
thank you.
Carl Pierce, Denver City Attorney's Office.
Visitor. Okay.
I am because I want to speak.
Oh, okay, great. Carla, thank you. Hello, Chief.
Good afternoon.
You get to introduce yourself so everybody knows you're in the room.
Devin Fulton, Chief, Denver Fire.
Right. Okay. Any other visitors that I may have missed?
Carrie.
Yeah, Carrie Klein, Hearing Officer, Denver Civil Service.
Welcome. We have one more.
Greg Crittenden from the Office of the Independent Monitor.
Oh, great. Welcome.
Michelle Guzman, Civil Service.
Jesse Carey, senior counsel aide to Councilwoman Chantel M. Lewis.
Okay, thank you.
Association Board.
Okay, Brian, thank you. Welcome. Okay, anybody else joining us virtually? All right, so we're going to move on to the next order of business, which is going to be a review of candidates.
Approval of minutes.
I haven't been here for a couple of weeks, so approval of minutes.
I'll look to approve the 1022 minutes.
Second. Hope everyone had a chance to review the minutes. If there are no additions, deletions, corrections, whatever. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Now, may I? Okay, we're gonna move to the review of candidates.
Right, we collect notes on the commission review of candidates, and I take them in order as listed on the survey. So that's Commissioners Moore, Foster, Everett, Stout, and Taylor. We'll start with candidate 369044.
No.
Commissioner Everett.
Yes.
Row 3.
Oh, it was hold. It was hold on that.
Okay, here's the,
No.
sorry, what line are we on?
No.
We are starting on line 3.
Right here. Look back here.
This guy right here.
Oh, okay, no.
Commissioner Everett, did I get a hold from you? Hold, yes. Candidate.
Okay.
Candidate 244718.
No.
Commissioner Everett,
Yes. No.
Excuse me, has something changed? Or,
In here, yeah. Right, okay.
so yes.
No,
And I was a no.
Candidate 372213.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
yes,
Candidate 164990.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
yes,
Candidate 371044.
Yes.
No.
No.
no,
Candidate 370114.
Yes.
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 yes,
Candidate 293482.
Yes.
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 yes,
Candidate 369559.
Yes.
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 yes,
Candidate 370160.
Yes.
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 yes,
Candidate 369930.
Yes.
Yes.
Hold. Yes.
yes,
Candidate 369959.
Yes.
Yes. I apologize. My last answer was yes. This one's a hold.
so just to be sure, Commissioner, Everett, 369930, you're changing it from hold to yes?
Yes.
And then, for candidate 369959, your vote is a hold?
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Candidate 351481.
Yes.
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 yes,
Candidate 367179.
Yes.
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 no,
Candidate 328073.
Yes.
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 yes,
Candidate 22092.
Yes.
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 yes,
Candidate 356499.
No.
No.
Hold. No.
yes,
Candidate 312363.
Yes.
Yes.
No. Yes.
yes,
Candidate 368812.
Yes.
Yes.
No. Yes.
yes,
Candidate 107449.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
no,
That concludes the commission review of candidates. We do have 3 hold for executive session.
Okay, that concludes, at least temporarily, the public portion of our meeting. We're going to go into executive session and hopefully, we won't be too long. Thank you all.
And the team members will help you. We have a room for refreshments.
Turn up the heat. Yeah.
Oh, oh,
Point
yeah,
to-
sorry,
Right down.
break part, see you after.
Which is where our reception is going to be at 4 o'clock.
Yes.
that's why they have.
Yeah.
And then we'll bring in. We'll come back in.
So before we get started with the executive session, I want to introduce my colleague, Jonathan Sadi.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
on,
it's
you need to
not-
mute.
This is not confidential. We'll get it. These guys gotta go.
I know what it is. I got this one too, but I got the tea jelly.
You got the what?
I got the tea jelly. That was the difference.
No, this meeting is still, uh-huh. 30 minutes and, well, I'll carry it around. I have a feeling.
Come on in.
You will do one.
You guys sign everything? Yes. Oh, you can do this too. Come to force.
Yeah, we coming,
Coming back.
you ain't too well, man.
That's two.
So this is voting, number two and. Have a seat, you guys.
Tracy, how are you?
Hi, Chris. You guys can sit here. I think
Okay.
only thing 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. Local 850.
Fire?
Greg, yeah, how are you?
All right, good. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Hello. How you doing?
You, how are you?
It's good. It's good.
Hi,
Hi.
Chris.
How are you?
Okay,
Chantal
nice to meet
Taylor.
you.
Hi.
James, nice to meet you.
This is good.
No, sorry, I said it. Nice to meet you. Hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm called Tom's. How are you? Good, you? How are you?
No. It's been. Pull that up. Great, nice to meet you. That's chair right there. Don't worry. I'll grab one.
Good, how are you? Good to see you.
Do the folks virtually, are you able to hear us? Thumbs up if you do.
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay.
Yes, please.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Okay, we're just waiting for a couple people to get seated. All right, we're back in open session, and we're going to continue with business or appeals, please.
All right. Thank you so much, commissioners. We're gonna go in order of Commissioner Moore, Foster, Everett, Stout, and Taylor. So we're gonna start with appeals before commission case number 24 CSC 05. And we talked about what's listed there is the wrong case number,
Okay.
but you reviewed the right case. Commissioner Moore?
Farm.
Affirm.
Affirm. Thank you. Next case is case numbers 22 CSC 05, 06, 07 consolidated.
That's a firm.
Affirm.
Affirm. Thank you. And then we're gonna revisit the 3 candidates that were held during the first open session. Dylan?
Right, first is candidate 369044.
No.
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 Candidate 369959.
No. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Which one
Yeah,
is
wait.
it?
369959.
369. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And candidate 356499.
No.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
499.
What is it?
Sorry, 356499.
Bottom one.
No.
No, it's not the very bottom.
Fourth from the bottom.
Fourth from the bottom.
Oh, okay, yeah, never mind.
Okay, so let's do that again.
356499.
No.
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 Yes. That concludes our candidate review and the voting for the appeals before the commission. Thank you. Appreciate you, Bossum. We have additional guests.
Oh, yeah, we have additional guests. Please just introduce yourself, name, and where you're from.
Starting
We'll
with
start with
me,
you.
Chris Ferguson, Denver firefighters, president of local 858.
Well,
Devin Halleck, Secretary Treasurer, Denver Firefighters 858.
good,
Sean Drumgo, Denver Firefighters, Civil Service Director.
good. Thank you.
Todd Regis, Denver Firefighters, Support Division, BP.
Welcome. Anybody else?
Oh, we got to introduce the big guy.
Oh, man.
It might be a good thing or a bad thing.
Introduce yourself.
Liz
Oh,
Castle,
oh, sorry. No, please.
Liz Castle, Office of the Independent Monitor.
Al Gardner, Executive Director for Safety.
Anybody else? Okay. Pretty grace to go.
I'm right here. Sorry, I was getting people seated. All right, well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I think this is the most attendees I've had for a commission meeting since I started. Yay.
Yeah.
I think all I just need to put is Rule 12 on the agenda and I will have attendance, so I appreciate it. So we really wanted to invite and start a series of dialogue regarding Rule 12. We did receive an official request. And so when we receive requests to revisit rules, it is only respectful and professional for the agency to ensure that we hear all voices at the table. But because sometimes the rule in question is a large discussion, we have to approach it in an organized manner. And so level setting for today, we will hear a briefing from Carla Pierce about Rule 12, and then we will move on to PPA to hear about their proposal. And then anybody else who are present and would like to get on in succeeding agendas, and I will be reaching out to the different groups because this is a large discussion, as I've said. If I miss you, or if you want to ensure I don't miss you to come to the meeting, please don't hesitate to reach out. Does that make sense? And because PPA is also presenting today, I also invited, and thank you for being here, for the firefighter local 858, because this is sort of an avenue for the employee groups to present their opinions and their recommendations. And again, I also want to clarify, we have not started the rulemaking process. This is an information gathering series of dialogues. So civil service has to adhere strictly on our rulemaking process before any rules can be made. So with that having said, I will turn it over to Ms. Carla Pierce first.
Hi, I am the Assistant Director of the Employment and Labor Law section of the City Attorney's Office. I've been with the City Attorney's Office for 26 years this month, actually. And I wanted to speak with you. I understand that there was going to be a discussion about Rule 12 and potentially changing the burden of proof back to the way it was in, I think it was what, 2015, when.
For 2013.
2013. Time flies when you're having fun. I was very much involved in making that rule change. This was done under former Executive Director of Safety, Alex Martinez, who was also a former Chief Justice of the Colorado Supreme Court. After he had an opportunity to see how our discipline process worked and how the appeals process worked, and after seeing some of the decisions that we were getting from hearing officers, that or the commission was routinely overturning because the hearing officers were substituting their judgment for the Executive Director of Safety, questioning the Executive Director's qualifications to even decide discipline in one case, misapplying standards, especially with regard to commission of a deceptive act. We had at least 4 cases overturned in a short period of time on that. Deferring to command staff recommendations, which at that time were part of the discipline process and were included in letters and what have you, and making erroneous evidentiary rulings and just generally not being not appreciating how much went into the investigation of these cases and making different rulings on how much of an internal investigations file would come into evidence. And we looked at, what is due process required? And forgive me if I'm telling you all something you already know, but due process in this context requires pre-deprivation due process, which is notice to an officer or firefighter of the allegations against them, and an opportunity to be heard to avoid a mistaken decision. It was my twin brother. If you'd asked me, I would have told you that before you disciplined me, okay? Is the general sense of it. And then there's also post deprivation due process, which is the opportunity to have a hearing, an appeal hearing, and generally to be able to present evidence and cross-examine witnesses. And what's clear in the case law is that the more due process you provide up front, the less you have to provide on the other end. Okay. So career service, unlike the classified service, but I just want to walk you through real quickly how this works for career service employees. There's a formal or an informal investigation. An employee may not even know that a complaint's been made against them, and the agency's looked into it. And then the first notice they may get is a contemplation of discipline letter that is not much different than what's received by officers and firefighters. It states the rules that are believed to have been violated, the facts that the agency is relying on, and then allowing for a contemplation of discipline meeting being held, where the employee can come have their opportunity to be heard. The employee does not get to look at any documents. They don't get, if there's been a formal investigation, they don't get to look at the final investigation report. They don't get to look at the investigation during the investigation. They just get what's on the paper in the contemplation of discipline letter, and they get to speak. And then the agency decides on this. They can appeal. And when they go to an appeal, out of fairness, they get a de novo hearing where they get to present their own evidence. They get discovery first to discover, any documents that they weren't provided with, and so that they can really have a meaningful opportunity to appeal their discipline to a hearing officer. When we looked at police and fire, we realized they get so much more due process up front. Okay, so in comparison, when an officer a complaint's been made, an IA investigation's open, they get to know up front what the allegations are. At least a summary of the allegations before the investigation starts. If we're doing an investigation of a career service employee, we don't tell them what the investigation's about. They basically learn about it in the investigation. Okay. There's an investigation conducted. The independent monitor oversees it, makes sure that they believe that it's a thorough and a complete investigation. And then it goes up to the conduct review board. I'm just talking about policing. And they review the investigation. They decide if violations are sustained and what the penalty they believe is appropriate. And they issue a similar contemplation of discipline letter to the officer. Now the officer this is where things start to depart significantly. The officer now has 24 hours to decide whether they want to accept the recommended discipline and not fight it, assuming the director of safety and chief of police will agree to that, or if they want a chief's hearing. Okay, if they want a chief's hearing, then we start the investigative review process. Now the officer in phase one gets to go look at the entire IA file and review it along with their representative. Then they get to, as part of phase two, they get to make suggestions about where they think maybe there should have been more investigation. Why didn't you interview this witness? And they get to dispute parts of the investigation and the findings, and put that in a memorandum that goes in the file to be considered. That is a really big advantage. And then they have the chief's hearing, which is the contemplation of discipline hearing. And the chief issues a written command and the OIM weighs in, and then it goes and of course, the officer gets to speak at the chief's hearing. And then it goes up to the executive director of safety, who reviews it, gets input from all of these people who are at the chief's hearing, which is members of the city attorney's office, the OIM, their command staff of the officer who's being considered for discipline, and getting all of this input that's gone in, and then make a decision. So when we look then at the appeal process that an officer has, it was clear that we don't have to go and give them as much due process, like a de novo review, because we've done this huge investigation. We've had all of these people weighing in, and now to give a de novo hearing is like starting over, and we're putting on all these witnesses. And frankly, in police cases, sometimes, and this is true for sheriffs as well, you know, you're having as witnesses, you have inmates, or you know, maybe the suspect who was arrested and allegedly inappropriate force was used against. These kinds of police, because of the nature of their work, it can be hard to get witnesses. Find them, get them to come testify against a police. Okay, so that's a real challenge that we have. Whereas in an IA investigation, it's, you know, they can try to convince a witness to give some a statement at a minimum. And under the rules that we changed, the IA file comes in presumptively, because we were getting rulings all over the place as to what parts of the IA file should come into evidence. So, you know, we don't need a de novo hearing for the police officers. We have a system set up where we've decided to have a civilian executive director of safety make decisions after we've had this police review process and getting input from the chief of police. But the idea being that we want a civilian to make the decision, and we want civilian oversight, and to then hand the decision to a hearing officer and have them make the decision all over again based on evidence that we may not be able to reproduce in the hearing, creates a real challenge. And, you know, we want officers to get fair hearings and fair outcomes. But to what was happening was, it was the Department of Safety that was not getting fair hearings and fair outcomes. And it's important for us to hold officers accountable. It's every bit as important for us to do that as it is for us to make sure that an officer is getting due process and is not being disciplined for reasons that are unfair. And so we went through a lot of work to create Rule 12 and create the rules that go with it, so that they have the opportunity to come in and prove that, show that a decision is clearly erroneous. We don't prevent them from calling a witness to contradict something in an IA file, but the IA file is the fundamental evidence that comes in. And then they have an opportunity to call witnesses and testify and to challenge both the decisions to sustain violations as well as to challenge the penalty level. And it has worked for us really well. I think there have been some reversals, and and we've gotten decisions affirming, but the assumption is when we've gone through this whole process, it's been fair to start with. And we made a good decision to start with. Because so much goes into it and so much thought, and the officer has, that ability to participate and to try to persuade that they did not do anything wrong. And that, that was the decision, was that we should absolutely change Rule 12. It was done with the mayor's absolute approval, and led by the executive director of safety. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. My name is Sean Lane. I'm here today representing the Denver Police Protective Association and its members. In a global sense, I'm really here standing up for the classified employees of the department, fire department. And I'm honored to be able to speak for people who day and night work to protect the citizens of Denver. We do want to thank the commission for hearing from us today. We welcome the opportunity to engage in this dialogue about disciplinary rules, but specifically Rule 12. We believe the Rule 12 is overdue for a meaningful modification. The Civil Service Commission is capable of creating its own rules concerning procedure, of course, but we are strongly urging this commission to accept our proposed modifications today. Currently, hearing officers can only modify the executive director of safety or deputy director of safety disciplinary penalty imposed when it is shown to be clearly erroneous. And Rule 12 requires that the subject of the discipline, whether that be a police officer or a firefighter, prove that the discipline being imposed is unjustified. That has to be proven by this clearly erroneous standard, which is higher than beyond a reasonable doubt. It is an incredibly high standard. The hearing isn't de novo, which means that once the internal investigation or the internal decision is made to impose discipline, the burden is entirely on the accused officer to prove their own innocence. Frankly, it seems wrong. The accused in this case has to prove their innocence, and to do that by a clear error standard. As has been pointed out, career service employees currently enjoy a preponderance of the evidence standard on their disciplinary appeals. And in fact, in those appeals, the burden is placed upon the accuser to show that that employee has done something wrong and to prove it by a preponderance of the evidence. If we think about it, officers who are currently defending the citizens of Denver, if accused, have to prove their own innocence by a higher standard than beyond a reasonable doubt. That hasn't always been the case. As has been pointed out in 2012, this standard changed to what it currently is. Prior to that, Rule 12 provided that the accuser in these cases had to prove the case by a preponderance of the evidence, which is common standard in civil cases. And that meant that the accuser had to actually present the case. They had to actually bring evidence to the hearing, rather than the accused having to be the one that shows that whatever procedure or whatever has been done is wrong, and again, by that clear error standard. We propose that that change that was made in 2012 is unfair. We don't think it's worked as intended. We do think that it's depriving officers to some extent of due process and the ability for a meaningful hearing. These hearings we don't believe are truly meaningful, because at some point it's basically just the officer trying to say, effectively, it would almost have to be, well, this wasn't me. You got the wrong person. This is not even my name. That's clear. Okay. We do believe that appeal hearings for DPD officers and classified employees should be conducted de novo, and a preponderance of the evidence burden of proof would be appropriate at these hearings. Whether the burden is placed on the executive director of safety to show the appropriateness of the discipline, or the disciplined employee to show that their discipline is improper. Other police departments in the Denver metro area use that standard. There are other police departments that say that the accuser, I think, properly has to put on a case and prove the case by a preponderance of the evidence. And one thing that has changed that I think is something that the commission should strongly consider. There have been new post standards that have been put into effect. And those standards have really changed the landscape of everything with relation to this. And it's because post can base its decisions on the finding of an administrative court, which means that an individual who is accused of something and found to have done something wrong with respect to use of force or honesty or something like that, they are facing revocation of their post and the inability to work as a police officer in the state of Colorado, basically forever. And what they're facing is once that determination is made, in order for that to be overturned, they have to have the burden of proof and prove that by a clear error standard. We think that that's unfair. And we do think it's a significant change with respect to the way things perhaps were done from 2013 until probably about 2020, 2021. Post is just now starting to understand the ramifications of what's going on with this. But effectively, this administrative procedure, which if there's almost no way to go in and have these cases reversed, and there have been reversals, I agree with that, but if it's 5%, I think that might be somewhat high. And I don't have the numbers, but it's very, very rare. I do these hearings myself. We can say that with respect to the way these are conducted, this may entail the bare minimum that is required for due process in these cases. I would say that these officers, the firefighters, deserve more than the bare minimum. We're asking for that. There's been some talk about the phase 2 investigation, where an officer should be able to ask for additional investigation to be done. To some extent, that investigation appears to be discretionary. I have seen instances where phase 2 investigations have been rejected. When these cases go to appeal, the internal affairs documents, the conduct review documents do form the foundation of the evidence. But if the officer can't ask for additional investigation to have more put into that file, the review itself is done on the contents of that file. And if we can't get investigation to add to that, again, I think that the hearing itself becomes meaningless because the officer's side isn't heard. We do think it's a fundamental fairness issue. I think that these officers deserve better. And so that's why we're putting on this presentation today. I do appreciate the time for the commission and the invitation to be here, really. So thank you very much. I think that the Vice President of the EPA would like to speak a little bit.
So first and foremost, I really want to thank the commission for allowing us this time to have this meaningful dialogue. I really appreciate bringing this issue to light, this issue that affects all the officers of the Denver Police Department along with the firefighters of the Denver Fire Department. I'll keep my comments brief in respect for your time, but there's been a very large focus within the city, looking at the city's policies, the city's procedures, and looking at that through an equity lens. And all the Denver Police Protective Association and the Denver firefighters want is to look at this procedure through that equity lens. The comments that were made earlier stated that the career service employees do get that de novo hearing, that other jurisdictions in the area do get that de novo hearing. What we're asking for is just a fair shake. What we're asking for is that de novo hearing with that burden of proof that is the standard within the departments in the area, that is the standard within the departments within the metro area. We just want a fair shake. We just want a fair hearing where the burden of proof is on the city. Prove that the officer or the firefighter, what they did was wrong. We want that burden of proof to be. Well, that's all we're asking for is just a fair shake and to look at that and this procedure through that equity lens and look at what other jurisdictions, other places, even within the city get. And that's why we're asking for those changes to our rules. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Commissioners, if you have a question.
I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I really appreciate hearing all of this, and this explanation is really helpful. I'm newest to the commission, so please excuse my ignorance if I ask silly questions, but as an attorney, I get the standards and that preponderance versus clearly erroneous does seem like a challenging and quite a differential. So I'm sympathetic and I hear that. How does it work? It sounds like one of the rubs is burden on the accuser versus the accused. And I do wonder, just logistically, if you put the preponderance of the evidence standard on the accuser, how does that work if, say, a citizen is bringing a complaint against an officer? How do they develop the preponderance of the evidence standard and bring that case forward when it would seem a lot of the evidence is not attainable by them? It's held in the hands of the officer, the department. How does that logistically build out the case? How do they build out the case? And where's the fairness between, the complaint brought and sort of the ability to defend against it and finding balance there?
I think it would, at least procedurally, the burden is different, obviously, once it reaches the stage of having a decision made, but the building of the case, I think, would happen basically like that, which is that the department, once there's a complaint, investigates the complaint. It's brought, it goes through internal affairs, and then it goes to conduct review, and then ultimately the executive director of safety steps in, issues an order, and then that order would be defended by the same people. Now, the cases move through the same way, whether it's an internal or an external complaint. The citizen, once they make the complaint, it's investigated by the department, by the various investigative bodies.
Okay, so this would be then at the next stage, and that's where the de novo review would have a separate
It
standard.
would be after the investigation.
Got it. That's really helpful. Okay, thank you. I appreciate clarifying. No, and I really do appreciate you presenting this, and I can see coming into it now, not having the history that you all do, so it was helpful to get that background. So thank you.
Other commissioners? Yes, no.
I have two questions, and I'm the eldest tenured commissioner, and I still will ask ignorant questions, so I apologize for that in advance. But you mentioned Denver Metro, and this is a broad question, and it might be some research we need to do on our back end as well. You mentioned some other metro area police departments. How does this look from our national, similarly situated cities, and understanding some differences in laws and things like that, but how does that compare to those folks? Because, I love Lone Tree, but Lone Tree may not have the same necessity. And I'm not, I could say I'm not always eager to just copy what Aurora is doing with some of their stuff. So I'd be just curious if we'd have a sense of kind of national.
So I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm happy, because this is part of a dialogue, I'm happy to bring that back to you. We can definitely look into that and look into some national comparables and see what some of the national ones. I don't want to go this anecdotal thing. I'd be more comfortable.
No, I appreciate it. There's a hand raised. That might have.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Your hand is raised. Do you have something to contribute to this?
I do. My name is Jerry Marzullo, and I'm legal counsel for Denver Local 858. My firm has the pleasure of representing police officers and firefighters in multiple states. And Denver's position on this in terms of burden and quantum of proof is quite extraordinary. The vast, if not almost all of employers out there, it is the employer burden of proof when they are seeking to take away somebody's property interest at a preponderance of the evidence standard. And happy to send over information if necessary.
Okay, thank you.
I'd be very interested in that. Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you very much.
for your information.
Any other questions?
I do wanna also, maybe on a different time, we can also talk through the different makeup of appeals throughout the different agencies. So I just want to make sure that the commissioners also are aware that not all agencies follow the same kind of appeal avenues that Denver does, right? So I just, when we talk about Aurora and maybe Colorado Springs, some of these agencies, they don't go through an appeals hearing, administrative hearing officer. Some of these appeals are directly submitted to the commissioners, whereas in Denver, we have multi-pronged avenues. So I just want to be clear that when we do comparative discussions, that we also understand the different avenues that these law enforcement agencies afford their officers. So wanted to put that out. No one has his hand
Let me
raised.
get to the record. It's been stated several times here that the career service employees get the de novo hearings. And that is true for most career service employees. It is not true, however, for the one set of career service employees that is also a paramilitary organization, and that is Denver Sheriffs. The Denver Sheriffs do not have the de novo hearings, but rather they have the exact same hearing procedure and burden of proof procedure that police and fire have. So just so you know that.
No, you have.
If I could join it, if I could jump in there for just 1 second.
Okay, so
Thank
we're
you.
gonna,
I'm sorry.
so I'm just gonna say, this is just the first of many conversations, and we've explained this. Other stakeholders are gonna have the same opportunity to do what the PPA is doing. Go ahead.
I just want to point out that, not only is Mr. Wolf, correct there, but we have, first of all, there are some types of appeals by career service employees where they have the burden of proof. So it's in discipline cases, the burden of proof is on the agency. But there's other types of appeals where, it's been brought forward, for instance, what am I thinking? The
Discrimination claims.
grievances, discrimination claims, that kind
Whistleblowing
of thing.
claims.
Then the burden shifts to the employee. So it's not all de novo in career service. We changed for the sheriff's department, their rule after we changed rule 12. If this, one consideration, if this commission were to change rule 12 back, we would have no choice but to change it back again as well for the sheriff's department. That was the point, was that they get very similar pre-deprivation due process that justified also changing the burden of proof on their appeals, and we have similar problems with the rulings that we were getting in those cases. So it's just another consideration.
And my question, and first I just want to say, like, I really enjoy this dialogue. I think I wish every meeting was like this. I'm sure I'll probably get it in a shorter time frame and stuff, but like I really enjoy this dialogue, and hope people that are here can come to future meetings and continue that dialogue through public comment or other avenues. Commissioner Foster, when you first started talking about this, you I think grounded this in the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. And I went and read that on a couple flights over time. And, I found that to be really foundational, important, kind of thinking about how we approach some of the work we do. And, it's something that I'm going to quote from it. And I have a question just to answer that. And one of the top of their recommendations, this task force, the broad spectrum of stakeholders under President Obama talked about the guardian mindset, instilling the guardian mindset, and talked about all of our work should be done to build public trust and legitimacy. And I guess my question would be how, and anyone can answer this, how would you say this potential change, or just opening up under the hood and looking at it, how would that reinforce that?
I think you look at the public trust and transparency aspect, which is a great point to bring up. There's no other avenue now. There's no other excuse. If you have a de novo hearing, the burden of proof is on the city, and we have a clear standard of that burden of proof. And it's easily seen. There's no more transparent thing than that. There's no avenue to say, hey, this wasn't fair. This is the absolute most fair way to do that. So I think that by having that fair process, by giving the officers a fair shake, by having the de novo hearing, I think that absolutely increases the transparency, because there's no other route or avenue you can say that this wasn't fair. So that would be my sort of
If I could add a little bit to that. What he's saying is 100% correct. The fact is that at a de novo hearing, evidence would need to be presented. The way it currently is done is simply, well, here's the IA file. This is admitted into evidence. There's our evidence. If there were this de novo review, the burden being the preponderance of the evidence, but the important part of the de novo review, transparency comes from the presentation of that evidence. Here's what was wrong. Here's what this officer did. Let me show you, neutral magistrate, what happened that was wrong. That is transparent because now we see the evidence rather than simply saying, officer, here's the file, fight against that.
Okay, like I said, we're kind of time constrained, but I'm going to give a representative of local 858. Anything you would like to contribute to the conversation?
No,
Yeah.
I think that, you know, we stand, also, hold on, Jared, we stand together with BPA. The rule 12 has changed the way we do disciplines as well. Maybe we don't face as many as they do because we're in different public eye in a different way. But we still have different jobs. Same with sheriffs, right? Jobs are different. So I think you need to take that into consideration as well. And that's why they're under different rules. But we stand hand in hand with PPA for sure on this rule change, and we're looking forward to it. So I think our attorney had something else. Sorry, Jared.
Okay, real quick, go ahead.
I would say that the public and trust and transparency would be enhanced if you adopt what police and fire are asking you to do. Because right now, it is an employer who does the investigation that is then reviewed by other elements of the employer. That is then sent for review by a a hearing officer who is hired by the employer without the officer and his career or her career able to test that, because we've made the claim, I think amazingly, that there is so much due process on the front end, as the employer alleges, that we don't need that much on the back end. And I have found that that's an extraordinary statement to make. So it is employer driven all down the line, and then we're potentially taking this person's career away. Would not the public trust, and quite frankly, would not the trust of the men and women under your command in the police and fire service be enhanced if these individuals realistically and actually got a fair shake to protect and defend their chosen careers?
Okay, thank you. As Gracie said, Chiefs, thank you for being here. All the other stakeholders in this process are going to have an opportunity, a full opportunity to present their perspectives to us. I just want to make sure that we kind of level set this. Like, we have not been talking about eliminating Rule 12. What we've been talking about is whether or not there's an opportunity to do some modifications or modernize some things. So I don't want people thinking that we're on the brink of doing that. And I don't want that miscommunicated to the public or anybody else. So really appreciate you coming. Really appreciate your dialogue and sharing. And we're going to continue to really dig into this. A lot of us are new on this commission. So I think it's healthy for us to sort of take a second look, especially if there's some people saying credibly that we need to do that. So we certainly are committed to that. So thank you. Is there anything else? Okay, then I entertain a motion to adjourn, and then we can go get some refreshments and get to know each other on social basis. Can I get a motion?
Second.
All right. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.